America, 1861, a nation dangerously divided. Slavery had torn the country in two. Southern states called themselves the Confederacy. Abraham Lincoln was elected president in 1860. Loving this history? Hit like and follow. Confederate guns fired on Fort Sumter. The Civil War had officially begun. 11 states left the Union for good. Jefferson Davis led the Confederate States. Lincoln called for 75,000 volunteers. Both sides believed the war would be short. The Union wore blue, Confederates wore gray. First Battle of Bull Run shocked the North. Civilians had come to watch the battle. They fled in panic as Union lines collapsed. General McClellan built a massive Union army. The war would be long and costly. Confederate General Stonewall Jackson won early fame. His troops moved fast and struck hard. Robert E. Lee took command in Virginia. Lee was bold, brilliant, and deeply respected. The Peninsula Campaign pushed toward Richmond. Lee's army repelled the Union advance. The 7 days battles raged near Richmond. McClellan retreated, Lincoln grew frustrated. Second Bull Run was another Union defeat. Lee's army crossed into Maryland heading north. The bloodiest single day of war approached. September 17, 1862, Battle of Antietam. 23,000 soldiers fell that day. The cornfield lay silent with fallen men. Lee retreated, it was a Union victory. Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation in September. All enslaved people in rebel states were free. African Americans could now join the Union Army. The war's purpose had forever changed. Burnside replaced McClellan as Union commander. Fredericksburg was a disastrous Union defeat. Thousands fell charging Confederate lines in vain. Hooker took command but fared no better. Chancellorsville, Lee's greatest tactical victory. Enjoying this history? Drop a like now. But the South paid a terrible price. Stonewall Jackson was shot by his own men. He died 8 days later from his wounds. Lincoln struggled to find the right general. Grant was winning steadily in the West. Vicksburg sat on the Mississippi's vital bend. Grant laid siege to the Confederate city. 47 days the city held out. Vicksburg fell on July 4, 1863. The Mississippi River belonged to the Union. Lee moved north again with bold confidence. He marched his army into Pennsylvania. A patrol searching for shoes found Union cavalry. The Battle of Gettysburg had begun. 3 days of fierce fighting lay ahead. Day 1, Union forces were driven back. They held the high ground on Cemetery Ridge. Day 2, Devil's Den and Little Round Top. Joshua Chamberlain's men held Little Round Top. His bayonet charge saved the Union flank. Day 3, Lee ordered Pickett's charge. 12,000 men marched across open field. Union artillery and rifles cut them down. Pickett's charge failed, Lee's invasion was broken. 50,000 men fell at Gettysburg total. It was the turning point of the war. Lincoln's Gettysburg Address honored those who fell. Government of, by, and for the people. The draft riots shook New York City. Thousands protested the Union conscription law violently. African American regiments fought with remarkable valor. The 54th Massachusetts charged Fort Wagner bravely. Grant was promoted to lieutenant general. Lincoln finally had his fighting general. Grant's plan: attack on all fronts simultaneously. Loving this saga? Smash like and follow. Sherman would march deep into Confederate territory. The Overland Campaign began in Virginia's wilderness. Grant and Lee clashed in the dark woods. Fires broke out, trapping soldiers in the smoke. Grant refused to retreat like generals before him. He pressed south, always moving toward Richmond. Spotsylvania, days of desperate, fierce fighting. The bloody angles saw men clash at close range. Cold Harbor, Union troops pinned their names on. They feared they would not survive the charge. Grant's campaign cost enormous Union casualties. But Lee's army was being slowly worn down. Grant laid siege to Petersburg, Lee's lifeline. Months of trench warfare ground both armies. Sherman captured Atlanta in September 1864. Lincoln's re-election was secured by that victory. Sherman began his march to the sea. His army cut a wide path of ruin. 60 miles wide across Georgia to Savannah. Savannah fell, Sherman sent it as a gift. Lincoln was re-elected with a clear mandate. His second inaugural called for malice toward none. The Confederacy was running out of everything. Food, men, and supplies were nearly gone. Desperate measures arose, even arming the enslaved. The Confederate Congress debated and briefly approved it. But surrender would come before that happened. Fort Fisher fell, Wilmington's supply line cut. Sherman marched north through the Carolinas. Grant's forces broke through at Petersburg at last. Lee's thin lines finally collapsed under pressure. Richmond, the Confederate capital, fell on April 3. Confederate leaders fled south with what remained. Lincoln walked through Richmond's smoldering ruins. Freed people came out to greet him. Lee's army was exhausted, starving, and surrounded. Enjoying this civil war? Hit like now. He could not escape Grant's closing trap. Palm Sunday, April 9, 1865, Appomattox Courthouse. Robert E. Lee surrendered to Ulysses Grant. Grant offered generous terms, no punishment or prison. Confederate soldiers would go home as free men. Lee's men wept as they stacked their arms. Union soldiers did not cheer, they stood still. The war is over, they are our countrymen. One by one, Confederate armies surrendered. The deadliest war in American history was over. Over 600,000 soldiers had died. Millions of enslaved people were finally free. Abraham Lincoln did not see the full peace. On April 14, he was shot at Ford's Theater. John Wilkes Booth fired the fatal shot. Lincoln died the following morning, April 15. The nation mourned its fallen president deeply. His funeral train crossed a grieving country. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery forever. Reconstruction began to reunite the broken nation. The Civil War reshaped America's very soul. 4 million people gained their freedom. Lincoln's vision, one nation, indivisible, endured. The war's wounds would take generations to heal. Battlefields became sacred ground across the nation. Veterans North and South returned home forever changed. The nation they left was not the one they found. A new America rose from the ashes of war. Its ideals, equality and liberty, had been tested. And though imperfect, those ideals survived. The Civil War's echo shapes America still today. A war that ended slavery changed the world.